it really delivers on all the things that you want it to deliver, and it answers questions, and it's exhilarating, and it's a roller coaster ride. But nobody wants a roller coaster to end.
I'm so excited to talk to you about Better Call Saul season 6. I've been a fan of the show since the beginning. I've been a fan of Breaking Bad. I'm just so excited to see how the entire thing ends now. I feel like we're in the end game and it's just going to get very much more intense. So, right off the bat, there have been times that Howard appears to make things right, especially after Chuck's death. And he really wants to make amends with Jimmy, but now so many things have built up that I feel like that's never going to happen. So do you think the care that he had for Jimmy was genuine, or did he always have an ulterior motive?
Oh, no. I think he's always had a surrogate father of Jimmy. And this goes all the way back to that great scene where Jimmy gets his law degree. Mm-hmm. And he's in the break room with the other lawyers. The other mailroom people. Yeah. And wonderful scene. Oh my gosh, I remember doing this. Because it was early on, and it's the dumb show of me letting him know that he's not going to be part of HHM.
Right.
And it's ache and everything. Remember, right? It's awful. But as an actor, there was this whole scene where I get to talk. Yeah. And of course, I want to hear my own voice, right? And I get. And the director, was it Colin Buxey? It may have been. But I remember them taking me aside at the beginning of the day and saying, look, just so you know, we're not going to hear anything you say, but we're going to run the scene. And I was like, I'm like, oh, totally. Oh, I'm totally cool with that. I'm totally on board with that. And inside, of course, the actor was dying. But then when I saw that, it encapsulated, and this is going back to your question, it encapsulated everything that Howard feels about him. He was trying to. He wanted people to be removed. He didn't want to embarrass him. He wanted to take them. And then we found out later, of course, the only reason Howard is even doing that is because of Chuck.
Yeah.
So buffer as best he can, but because he's beholden to Chuck for those reasons to be explained. And then he gets him a job at Davis in Maine. That's a good place. Cliff, great guy to work for. And then Jimmy throws it away. And then Howard comes back again. Howard has tried to help him again and again and again.
Yeah.
But at this point, that last episode where I leave the courthouse and Jimmy is, he coming unhinged beautifully. Melissa Bernstein, one of our executive producers, directed that. And what I love about that is it pulls back with me as I leave the courthouse. And Howard has set his jaw. Yeah. He's also not going to be publicly drawn into that kind of nonsense. And he leaves the courthouse, and then she flips around and shows this silhouette of Saul unhinged, literally crazy man. And at that point, Howard has not washed his hands of Jimmy Saul as a person, but he's let him go. He's let go of any responsibility at that point of trying to help change him or turn him around. And I think there's a difference. And I'm still talking. Sorry, bye.
It's okay. No, and that's the thing too. That unhinged scene, where he says, I have lightning bolts for my fingers. It's such a great scene. I know that Bob also, he comes from comedy, and so I'm wondering, were there ever times where you guys just kind of broke character and we're laughing? Because they're very serious scenes, but there's also a little bit of comedy to them because the way he's reacting, it's very it's weird. Nobody would do that in a courthouse, so.
It is, but I tell you what, there is, we're not actors with a capital A, but we are actors with a capital A. We take our work seriously. Mm-hmm. The writing is really, really good. And, those pictures that they paint with the shadow and light and the composition of it all. Yeah. And so I want to show up and give my A game. The good thing is though, we can do that scene, take a break and go back to our chairs and sort of take a break. And then we'll watch a Cubs game. And we'll start, and then we'll talk about this or that, and we'll just do the stuff that you do. Then they call you back to set, and it's like strapping your suit on and getting ready to go again. Mm-hmm. Bob's such a really good actor, and watching him grow into Saul even more as the series has gone on has been one of truly the great pleasures. And by the way, I've had 4 seasons of building up that moment. So when he does yell at me, can access a sense of frustration and disgust as much. If you talk to him, he'd have the same sense of frustration and disgust, and that I think that makes good drama.
Mm-hmm. And with the way the events unfolded last season, who do you think Howard views as a bigger threat as he builds this case now against Jimmy this season? Do you think it's Jimmy or Kim, especially since Kim has shown a very different side? It's quite alarming. We've never seen this part of her.
Right, but I don't think Howard has either, other than seeing the idea of she's really not taking his advice. And pointing as well. And as much as he's let go of helping Jimmy, I think he reaches a point where he feels that Kim is also far gone. And at some point, in order to move on with your life, you have to let people go. They're going to do what they're going to do. You really aren't going to change their behavior. But I think there's bitter disappointment for Howard with Kim in particular. Jimmy's of a different ilk, and I don't think he ever thought he was a serious lawyer anyways.
Yeah.
Kim's a different animal. And he says so when Kim decides to leave the firm, that he admires her and he wish he had put up his own shingle. He tries to pay for a college education, and then she shoves it back in his face. And that's wounding. I think he always thought it was going to be HHM&W.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a chip. As much as he could be in the early aughts in Albuquerque wearing a tie bar, Howard was kind of a feminist. He was looking to add her. Granted, it was publicity, but he wanted to because he cared about her. So it hurts. I'm not saying, Howard's he's fine. Nice house and a good, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I get it. No, I get it. And I do feel like the show has evolved from like a lawyer show at the very start to a very dark show about cartels and crime. And I'm wondering, how do you think Howard will adapt to this natural evolution of the series for his own arc, considering the circumstances he's found himself in the direction of the show?
Well, you're not wrong. It's a lawyer show for me. Matter of fact, I sit down and watch it just like all the fans on Monday nights on AMC at 9:00. And sort of, like, what are we doing in the desert? What are all these guns going on here?
Right.
And my parents watch the show too, and they're like, "Oh, we like the lawyer part," and I'm like, "I bet,"
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I was like, "Oh, where do paths cross? Where's the intersection of those two things?" And the great thing about the writers, about Peter and Vince, is that they don't do anything just for show or just as a splash to be like, "Ooh, wouldn't it be great if this happened?" So all the things that we find out that happen in season 6, whether they cross or they don't cross, are in service to the story that they've set up. So in that respect, I'm very confident in saying that if you're fans of the show and you've watched and liked what you've seen so far, you will be absolutely satisfied with how it all resolves.
Right. Yeah, and I'm wondering, you share a lot more scenes with Ray and Bob, but I'm wondering, are there any other actors on the show that you maybe can tease that we will see? Will we see anyone that we're going to see like from the other side of the tracks, I guess? Like, are you going to have you meeting anyone?
What I can tell you is this. I can tell you an anecdote from, it was season 2. We were starting to film season 2, and I called up Jonathan Banks, and I was like, "Jonathan, I really hope I get to have a scene with you. I'd really like Howard and Mike to have a scene." He just goes, "No, you don't, Patrick. You with me." And I was like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe that's not a good idea." So.
Yeah, I guess so. The thing is also, has there been anything about season 6 that has surprised you the most in terms of your character's arc?
Yeah. I mean, what's been great and a real pleasure to be a part of this is that, each season they've sort of given Howard another window of his personality, which has allowed, I think, the fans to be able to be like, "Oh, I hadn't considered that about Howard," or, "Oh, I hadn't considered that. Oh, that surprises me." And that's happened consistently from the very beginning. And that doesn't change for season 6. There are definitely going to be windows where people go like, "I didn't know he was like that either."
Yeah. And before I let you go, do you think fans will be satisfied with the show's conclusion?
Yes and no. Yes, because it really delivers on all the things that you want it to deliver, and it answers questions, and it's exhilarating, and it's a roller coaster ride. But nobody wants a roller coaster to end. They want to go again.
Yeah,
so,
definitely want more of the show. But yeah.
So why? I feel exactly the same.
Of course. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for your time today. I'm such a huge fan of yours, and I really appreciate the time you took today. And I cannot wait for everyone to tune in this season.